Good, welcome. It's great to see so many people here today, so it's good to have a packed room. Also good to see so many familiar faces as well. So welcome to Mitel's London offices and today's seminar, which is looking at flexible working. And I think clearly it's a clear example of how much interest there is in flexible working technologies, given the turnout that we have today. So what we're going to do, we've got a packed agenda. There's a number of guest speakers that will be reviewing technologies and benefits associated with some of this new technology that spreads across home working, mobile working, and also the ability to look at what becomes flexible technology and infrastructure to be able to effectively and easily deploy across organisations. So lots of things we'll look at today. I have a number of people here with me, as I said. So we have Magor to look at video conferencing and telecollaboration, clearly Mitel, Redbox. Very pleased to also have Saul Stevens, one of our clients, so the IT director of Family Mosaic, who will be sharing with you all his experiences of working with us and deploying home workers and also technology out to remote sites as well. So before we start, what is flexible working? So I pulled this definition off the internet, and it's really about a flexible way of when, where, and how work is done. So that old adage of I work is what I do, it's not where I go. So we are able to certainly work from home these days. We're able to work from hotel rooms. But I think if we go and look at it, it's about the technology that's actually there to support us. Do we get the same experience when we're out of the office as we do when we're in the office? And what we shouldn't be is a second-class consumer of IT and telecoms because we're not sat in the confines of the building. So those are some of the things that we'll take a tour through today. So the when and where presents us with a number of challenges. I mean, I've listed a few up here that we'll be covering off today. So the actual technology, infrastructure and architecture to support home working and deliver services to the edge, the performance of those applications running across remote locations and home workers, clearly security aspects because we're starting to open up our networks for people to come in remotely. I think one of the aspects there, the BYOD, bring your own device to work, is something that's really starting to have a major impact and a change in the way in which people are consuming IT services these days. So the growth of the iPad, users and the expectation that people can carry on working from their own devices as they would within the corporate devices provided to them. In fact, what is interesting is the amount of money that people are prepared to pay for their own devices and the investment that they'll go and make. So it's something that we're seeing organisations embracing, but clearly it provides challenges as to how you support that infrastructure. The management and support of the home workers, the remote workers, it's not just the fact of how do we provide and support the technology, but it's also the fact that when we start a home working or a flexible working program, by its very nature what it's doing is providing people with the opportunity to ultimately increase their working hours. Working hours and patterns have changed considerably over recent years. We hear a lot about sort of this work-life balance and flexible working. I'm still struggling to find that work-life balance myself, but certainly the user's expectations are if they have a problem, they want an immediate fix. So how are they going to be supported when they're out of the office? And as part of it, there's also this cultural challenge around I've got users working from home, there's a lot of benefits associated with it, but actually how do I manage and perform, how do I manage and understand the performance of those users? If I can't see them, how do I know they're actually performing the role that they're being paid to do? So as part of it, we then need to go and look at monitoring and reporting tools. And for me, I think it's great. I mean, there's a lot of fantastic technology we'll look at today. But as I said, are we creating this divide between the office users and the home and the mobile workers? Can people actually effectively do what they need to do from home and in the field as they can do in the office? So that's something that I'm looking to hear about the technology that we're looking at today as to how it can provide that experience. And what's really interesting is some of the new wave stuff that we'll look at. If used intelligently, not only does it improve the experience and the performance of people working remotely, but more importantly, you can actually turn that back around and implement it within the organisation itself, within the office environment for much greater effect, and we'll look at some of those aspects today as well. So time is definitely a changing. A number of staff, certain types of staff have a legal right to request flexible working, so it's something that we need to consider. And also what we're seeing is that people are looking for organisations that provide greater flexibility, and that's starting to become one of their considerations when choosing a prospective company to go and work with. So there's a number of reasons why people look for this flexible working, and it's not just parents. It's not just looking at how we manage the balance of childcare. Interesting figures there that there's 6.8 million carers in the UK, and this is expected to continue to increase, certainly as the population gets older. So, how are we supporting, in essence, what is a great resource, a lot of experience that is out there in this labour pool, and how are we as organisations giving them the ability and facilities to carry on working for us as an organisation? And for sure, the 9-to-5 working pattern is becoming less common. I can't remember the last time I did a 9-to-5, that's for sure. And as I said, it's not just the demands of the staff. If we're using our IT and telecom systems, we expect them to be available, and we expect people to help us. But it's also the consumers, the end users, the customers that interact with us as organisations. They expect extended opening hours as well. So this is a culture that's changing and driving the way in which we're all working, and clearly we can't have people sat in the office 24/7. So if we start to look at the ability to manage shift patterns and bringing people in maybe on a part-time or a short-term basis to cover peaks and troughs, we need to consider the actual premise costs and an overhead of supporting that. So do we want to have the lights on and the security and the infrastructure of people in the office? And it might be that we only need to bring people in for a short period of time. Can people afford to commute into work for a short burst of work? Certainly fuel prices are going up. We're going to see that continue. Rail fares have gone up and will continue to do so. So again, if we're able to look at the cost of people actually coming to work, and if there's a way in which we can support people, certainly for this short-term and part-time shifts that we're seeing a demand for, then that's got to be a good thing for us as an organisation, and importantly, a good thing for the employees as well. So there's a lot of organisations that already provide flexible working. It's not new. We've been supporting customers with teleworking and hot desking and mobile technology for a long time. Who in the room's already got a flexible working policy? Okay, so a fair few hands gone up there. Okay, I've just listed some of the key areas that tend to get looked at as to what's being provided for flexible working. So the shift from full-time to part-time working. We've seen a lot of this within the press recently at the growth of part-time work. Job sharing. Clearly we're in a challenging time in the economy, and we're seeing change in working patterns that are reflecting that as well. Home working, so 28% of organisations are now offering home working. Now again, the challenge that we need to look at is how do we ensure that they're able to conduct their role and their duties from home, the same as if they're in the office. Okay, we'll provide all of these slides after the event because there's a lot of content there, but there's some examples of some large organisations, the savings they've achieved that they've attributed to flexible working programmes. So BT, a very large figure there. If you look at certainly the accommodation aspects of 40 million savings. Now, one of the things that we did for the government's regional government offices is we deployed a hot desking solution, and with that, any member of staff across 5,000 people could go to any one of the 9 offices and actually log in and work from that office as if it was their full-time desk. Now again, if you think about that, premise costs are very high, and if we're able to look at how we can create this balance between home working and office-based working, then certainly as organisations that are growing, there's a benefit to be able to increase the services that are offered to the market and end users without actually, and the headcount without actually having to increase the office space as well. So there's lots of different ways to think about how flexible working can come into play. Things like shift patterns as well. So if we're providing a 24/7 support, then again the idea of hot desking that we can have different shifts rotating through a particular area is more efficient use of space. This is an interesting one that HSBC reported an increase of 300% of women returning to work after maternity leave. And again, what we should be considering as within organisations is the skill set and the resource pool that we have and how we retain talent. Okay, lots and lots of advantages of flexible working. I know looking through the slides that we're going to cover these today through the presentations, but just to give you some points to think through just before we kick off into the main presentations. Lots and lots of reasons as to why this is good, but clearly what we need to do is we need to offset against how we go and build the infrastructure and manage the services and the deployment of technology to support flexible working as well. Okay, so it's not going away. The question is, what's your plan? As I said, it was good to see a number of hands go up already, and what's the plan for IT and telecoms to support that as well? So, home working, mobile working, they're certainly growing. People are expecting it. We've all got mobile phones with emails on today, and certainly being able to extend telephony control as part of the mobile device as well, bring people onto a corporate network. There's a lot more functionality that is available to start to provide that same experience irrespective of where people are. And the question is, what if people can't get into work? So flexible working, if we go and look at this, I know some of the organisations we work with supporting home workers and the ability to go and log on to a different via a different location, it actually becomes part of the business continuity plan as well. So again, it's something to consider as an additional benefit of flexible working. And don't forget the Olympics. So in the summer we're going to have the biggest events that certainly London has ever hosted. What's the impact going to be for organisations across the UK? What's the impact for people trying to get into work? What sort of meetings are going to take place? Part of the Olympic routes, you're not going to be able to actually stop vehicles on those routes. What's the challenge then of delivering services. If we need to, you know, if roads need to be dug up, if there's new network connections that need to go in, there's lots and lots of considerations that we need to think about within the Olympics. You know, what's going to happen to the public travel infrastructure? You know, are the roads going to be ridiculously busy? You know, have you thought about these things already? Have you got plans? Yeah. Okay, so as I said, if we go and look at the technology that's available that supports flexible working, then the thing that I really take out of it is that it's benefit for all. It's not just benefiting the people that are working from home or in the field or from other locations. It's benefiting consumers of technology working within the office environments as well. So you'll get to see some very clever technology today, and we'll talk through how it can fit in to create greater efficiency, greater collaboration, greater team working, and improved service that's delivered as part of an organisation.